If you want a design that's usable, it's important to get feedback from your customers. Now, it's not against the law to call someone up and have a quick chat. But if you record the call, transcribe some quotes, or share any information with others, then you may be misleading someone into thinking they're having a private conversation. And that violates internationally recognized research ethics principles. So, if you want to conduct ethically sound research with human subjects, whether that's moderated or unmoderated research, you need to get what is known as informed consent. Informed consent is the process of ensuring that two things happen. First, that the researcher informs the participant about what the study entails and the potential consequences of participating, and the participant fully understands the terms of the study and can make an informed decision to voluntarily participate. To document this, researchers have participants read and sign a research consent form before beginning the study. Hang on a sec. Human subjects? That sounds pretty serious and clinical. I'm not doing anything clinical to a person, and we don't have a review board. We're just a small e-commerce team trying to watch people use apps and websites. Yeah, we work on internal tools with fellow employees, so it's just chatting with coworkers, right? It doesn't matter if you have an IRB or institutional review board. If you're studying people, you're studying human subjects. And no, it's not enough to just invite people to research and call their arrival consent. Informed consent means informing the participant about not just what you're doing with them during the session, but also about how their participation may impact them in the future. There are a number of notorious and horrible examples, like the Tuskegee syphilis study, which prove that a lack of informed consent can have disastrous and even lethal consequences. But even in non-clinical, low-risk studies, there are still consequences to consider. For example, the way the team collects and stores research data, or personally identifiable information, PII, can put participants at future risk of identity theft, it could incriminate them, or put them at risk of retribution. Also, participants usually don't know what types of activities you're going to have them do or questions you'll ask, and thus might not really understand what they're signing up for before they agree to participate. Participant consent requires two things: understanding and voluntary participation, even when you're paying people. This also means that extra care must be taken to get consent from parents or guardians or caregivers when working with children, people with cognitive impairments, low to no literacy, or mentally incapacitated people. All right, fine. But do I really need a consent form? Isn't it enough to just tell them about the study before we start? Consent forms themselves might seem like unnecessary paperwork, but they are critical. They ensure you're consistently informing every participant with the same level of detail, whether they're the first to participate or the 1000th. They also hold researchers accountable to protect the welfare and well-being of their participants, especially if the research begins to deviate from the original plan. And since writing a consent form requires researchers to think through all of the nuances of their study, it can even provide helpful prompts to improve your research plan. At a minimum, consent forms should have the high-level purpose of the study, the format of the study, a voluntary participation clause, participant data handling information, the consent statement. While many consent forms opt to have a single checkbox, consider having a modular consent structure with multiple options, allowing participants to consent to certain parts or aspects of the study, but not others. For example, a participant might be deeply uncomfortable with video recordings of their face or the publishing of their quotes, but they don't mind the audio recordings. This modular consent form increases the likelihood that they might participate and contribute data to the study, even if they don't consent to the video recordings. There are lots of other details you can include in your consent forms, but whatever it is that you put together, make sure to give your participants a copy so that they know what they signed and who to contact if they have any questions. Check out our article on the topic if you'd like more details about informed consent. But remember, it's our responsibility as UX professionals to make sure that better designs don't come at the expense of another person's well-being. If we want to have a human-centered design, it starts with human-centered research.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our UX videos, take a look at these over here and consider subscribing to our channel. On our website, nnGroup.com, you can access a free library of over 2,000 articles. You can also register for one of our UX courses that offer live hands-on UX training.